Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Ask the Experts. I hope you've managed to enjoy some sunshine over the last couple of days and are looking forward to the long weekend. Tonight, of course, we're talking about all things vegan beauty. As some of you will know, at Bumi Beauty we only stock natural and organic brands, but obviously the term vegan beauty kind of extends over lots of different areas of the beauty market. So we'll talk around the terms vegan, but we'll also talk about some maybe overlapping terms as well, such as cruelty-free, ethical, plant-based. We're going to make sure that we explain everything in detail, but if you've got any questions as we go along, make sure you pop them in the comments on the right-hand side, and myself or our experts will be able to answer them for you as we go along. So of course I couldn't talk about vegan beauty without bringing in some expert help, and tonight I'm joined by founders of two of the brands that we stock at Bumi Beauty. They're going to help us break down the topic, and I think it's going to be a really interesting one with lots of debate on this topic. So first of all, let me introduce you to our speakers. Here they are. We have Imogen, who is founder of Bumi Naturals. It's a small batch skincare company that uses organic ingredients in their formulations, which are focused on anti-pollution and anti-aging. Everything is made by hand by Imogen, and there's a really strong focus on ingredient sourcing and provenance, so that the products are really pure, natural, and they're almost good enough to eat. So welcome, Imogen. Oh, you've kept yourself on mute there, I think, Imogen.
Mistake of the evening.
Hello.
Right.
Hello.
I'm Imogen from Bumi Naturals. So first of all, I'm always asked what Bumi means, and it means earth in Indonesian, which is really what the brand is all about. Karen, you've given a really great introduction, so I'll hop straight into how I started the business.
Sorry, Imogen. Yeah. We'll just introduce Marian next. We've got to introduce our next speaker, sorry. So we'll just say hi to Marian first, and then, yes, we will go right into the story of Bumi, and then also Silvan. So Marian is founder of Silvan Skincare. It's a fully vegan range. Again, it's made by Marian in small batches on the Welsh borders. They've got a range of balms within the skincare range that are certified vegan by the Vegan Society, and then the whole range is Leaping Bunny cruelty-free as well. So I won't step into it too much, as Marian is going to tell her story as well, but her background is in massage, and it led her to develop a range of products that could work kind of holistically, both for massage and then taking care of the skin. And I think the range is just, excuse the pun, but grown really organically from there, with that foundation. So yeah, welcome Marian, and welcome Imogen.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
And yeah, we'll always just start by getting to know you guys a little bit better for people who may be watching that haven't heard of your brands before. So yeah, Imogen, let's go and hear all about Bumi. What does it mean? You've muted yourself again, Imogen, sorry.
This is not going well. So Bumi means earth in Indonesian. So basically I started Bumi back in Christmas 2017, after having my eyes open to the world of nature and natural products while I was backpacking in Bali. So I never really had great skin, and I didn't realise that the synthetic products I was putting on it were actually kind of making it worse, and if not making it worse, just covering it up and not truly healing it. So I realised that there are millions of other people out there like me, so I wanted to share the remedies that, you know, I know can help people, as well as create a brand that really communicates my love and respect for the planet in all aspects of what we do. So that's me. Thank you for inviting me tonight.
That's right. And Marian, tell us a little bit more about, you know, how you came from being a massage therapist to founding the brand Silvan Skincare.
Thank you. I was working as a massage therapist, and I wanted to find products that had a therapeutic value. So really added something to the work that I was doing with the soft tissues, and I kind of discovered that the products that I was using really had an effect on the skin, and deeper than the skin, into the muscles and into the joints as well. I really wanted to explore that. So I created a range of 5 different massage oils And I intended really just to use them in my own practice, in my own clinic, and sell them to other therapists. And that was great, and that worked really well. But then it developed, as things do, and I created a face oil. Again, very much on my own and selling to the people that I knew and the practitioners that I knew. But I entered it into a Janie Lee Grace does a Platinum Awards every year. I entered it into that, and it won the face oil category. And that then started my journey more earnestly and seriously into skincare and beauty products. And then came the range of creams, and then came the range of balms. And you're right, it has developed organically, step by step, as I've had time with my other job to develop new products. And
amazing.
Here we are today. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think we'll hear more about the products and maybe some examples of your time as formulators and brand owners as we go through the questions. But as I said right at the beginning, there's lots of crossover in terms. I think if anyone was watching, maybe the organic or the sustainable ones we did a couple of weeks ago, a lot of the terms are within the, I would say, conscious beauty sector of the market, but certainly vegan and some of the other terms we'll talk about goes across both kind of synthetic, commercial, natural, organic, zero waste, all of these different little pockets of the industry. So I guess let's just define what the term vegan means, whether it is synthetic or natural and organic. Marian, do you want to take this and try and define vegan for us?
I've been thinking about this quite a bit today, as in terms of my preparation, and there are obviously some definitions. But I mean, for me, I think that being vegan or having a vegan approach is more of a lifestyle. So it's not just thinking about food choices, but it's also thinking about clothing and skincare products or household cleaning products, or any decisions that you're making around choosing products to have it in your life. So, and it would be about choosing products that where the ingredients are not derived from animals or any derivatives of animals, and also that aren't tested on animals, which is also part of the definition of being a vegan. So it's about really trying to be kind and thoughtful to the animals, and not and making positive choices around not choosing ingredients or products that have been had kind of cruelty to animals in their processing.
So, again, you touched upon cruelty. I mean, vegan maybe relates to the ingredients, the production of the ingredients, the harvesting of the ingredients, but if something's made, for example, in a lab, it could be vegan, but then that ingredient could then be tested on animals, and that's what we mean by cruelty-free. Do you want to expand on what cruelty-free means a little bit more, Imogen?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you said that, because doing some research today as well, I found so many definitions, and I saved some of them because it was just interesting, because logically you would think that a vegan product would have to be cruelty-free, because you're mistreating animals by testing on them. But in the technical definition of it, a cruelty-free product doesn't have to be vegan, and a vegan product doesn't have to be cruelty-free, which doesn't sound that logical to me. So cruelty-free, in essence, not exploiting animals to be tested on, which I think we all agree is not great.
Yes, I guess there's actually lots of things at play here when we might be wanting to switch to a vegan beauty regime. There's lots of interdependencies, I guess. And I guess maybe I've already answered this question, but it'd be great to hear both of your thoughts on it. Does vegan skincare necessarily also mean that it's natural and organic? I mean, you both use natural and organic ingredients, but it doesn't always guarantee it, does it, Marian?
Not at all. I mean, all it's guaranteeing really is that the product isn't derived from an animal source or that the product hasn't been tested on animals. But it could be a synthetic source or a chemical source, and it could be, it could be irritating. It might not be plant-based, or there's lots of other things that it could be. So it might not be a natural product. But then that's a little bit of a confusing term as well when you think of natural products, because petroleum, for example, is a natural product. Mineral oil is a natural product, but that isn't necessarily something that somebody with making these kind of choices would seek to use in their skincare. Equally, palm oil is a natural product, and that is also something that people who are interested in vegan choices may choose not to want to include in their products. So there's lots of overlapping interests, and it becomes quite complicated.
Yes, as all these things do. Yeah. But if we're maybe wanting to look for something to follow, or some kind of body to look for, I mean, Chantal is asking what's the best vegan governing body to follow. Now, Marian, your products are certified, your balms are certified by the Vegan Society. Can you tell us a little bit more about them, and maybe if you're aware of any other kind of bodies that we could be looking out for on our products?
Well, when I looked into accrediting bodies a few years ago, the Vegan Society was the one that stood out for me. It seemed to be the one that most vegan skincare products were using, and it's the little kind of sunflower logo that you will see all over vegan skincare products and food items, etc. But there are a few others. I did make a list, but for example, PETA, they do a number of registers for different types of cruelty-free and vegan products, and then there's a few others as well. But the Vegan Society really probably stands out, particularly in the UK.
Yeah, I think it's the longest standing vegan body, I think globally, actually.
Yes, and so that's the other attractive. There's quite a few based in Italy, interestingly. So that must be an area where people are particularly interested in vegan products. But for us here, the Vegan Society kind of stood out to me. And do you want me to say a little bit more about the process?
Yeah, that would be great.
So I think the reason for me wanting to be registered with the Vegan Society was around having that trust that so instead of having to pick up products and read through all the ingredients, that somebody has already done that. For the Vegan Society, they examine every single one of your ingredients in all the products that you register, and double check that it's not an animal ingredient or derived from an animal in any way. They also look at your manufacturing processes as well, so what your own manufacturing processes, but the processes of the ingredients. So and that's quite interesting when you're looking at things like the production of essential oils. So they'll want to know what the process of extraction is from the fruit or the bark or the berry, to make sure that no animal products have been involved in that process. And also they're quite interested very interested in fruits. So often when fruits are picked, they're coated in a wax to seal in the moisture and to preserve the fruit for longer. So they want to know that you're sure that hasn't happened with the maybe the grapefruit essential oil or the orange essential oil that you're choosing to use in your product. So it's much more rigorous than you would perhaps think at first glance. Perhaps you would think immediately, well, as long as it hasn't got beeswax or shellac or lanolin in, then it's vegan. But actually there's a lot more to it than that. So it's quite an extensive audit. And so you have to speak to all your suppliers about all the different individual ingredients and get their say-so that they have checked that the criteria is acceptable to the Vegan Society. Yeah.
Wow,
and then
so involved.
Then you are allowed to have a license to display the logo on your products, and then that is renewed every year.
Okay, great, thank you.
And you pay. obviously you
Yes.
pay a fee. That's privilege as well. Yeah.
And I guess then kind of the other end of the spectrum, Imogen, because your brand's a little bit younger in your kind of history, I guess, in your timeline than Silvan Skincare is. So how, and obviously there's these costs involved of getting the certification and things, how as a brand that's maybe a little bit younger, that's not yet gone through that process but still has really strong sourcing credentials, how do you, one, ensure that your suppliers are almost matching the process that Marian just talked about, and two, how do you kind of tell that story without having the stamp on the products?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think there's definitely an advantage to having those certifications, and the same with the Soil Association Organic Beauty certification. And I must admit, at times it can be a bit of a struggle when, as I was looking again earlier, I was seeing that the advice for people who are looking for vegan beauty products or for organic products was to simply look for the stamp. So it's definitely something that I'm going to consider, but as you say, I'm a bit younger in terms of how long we've been around. So I've looked at the process. I just need to make sure that I can kind of jump through those hoops properly. But going back to the suppliers question, so I'm lucky with my suppliers. I mean, my main supplier's got all the certifications under the sun. They're amazing. They're very, very transparent about exactly where it came from, how it was made, whether it's fair trade, vegan, Soil Association, organic, natural, etc. And I'm very strict about that. Although I know that not all suppliers are not vegan if they don't have the certification because of where I am. I do definitely look for that so that I can, tell my story and prove to people that I am using those ingredients. It's very important to me that things are unrefined and in the most natural state possible. So that's really what I focus on. But I think ultimately, if the brand has a strong story, and in our industry, you would hope that people would be honest about and transparent about what they're doing.
Yeah, so I suppose it's just trying, as you said, to be as honest and transparent as possible. And then certainly from our side of things, whether brands are certified organic or certified vegan or not, or are just natural, we check every ingredient in the products that we stock and we kind of list it on our website. So it's hopefully pretty obvious, like which is certified, which is not, and if it's not, then where those ingredients have come from and how we've kind of vetted them. But it is, such a intricate and complex thing, which I guess, we as me as a retailer and you as brands kind of understand it in a really in-depth way. But when we're maybe wanting to switch to more vegan products, or we already are shopping for vegan beauty products, it can be quite difficult. What do you think is a good, aside from the logo, what are other things we should be looking for, maybe in the ingredients list to avoid, or maybe even the packaging, the sourcing? What do you think we should be trying to see on the products to make sure that they are vegan? Imogen, do you want to go for that one? Sorry, I didn't say.
So my advice would be to look at the ingredients. I would say look at the label, but the law around labeling your products, and a product only needs to be 1% natural for you to legally say that it's natural. And again, with being vegan, these terms are just thrown around. So I guess the best advice would be, don't just look at the label and see that it says natural or vegan or organic. Do check the ingredients and understand the ingredients. And it can really be a minefield, because some of these ingredients, you don't know that they're necessarily animal products. Like collagen is an animal product. I've got a list here. Just going to find it, because some of them, there's gelatin, which most people know is an animal product, and then you've got things like carmine, which crushed up beetles, squalene, which is shark liver oil, and things like that you might read and kind of wash over unless you kind of know. But in terms of if you're switching, there's some fantastic websites and fantastic sources, one of them being the Vegan Society and PETA as well, where you can get not just recommendations on companies, but, things to look out for when you're looking to switch.
Great. And Marian, are there any other ingredients? You touched upon a few there, but maybe go into those in a little bit more detail, like shellac, and I think keratin is one as well, which is used in a lot of hair products.
Glycerin is a really interesting one, actually, because glycerin, the inky name, so the name that you're required to put on the label is the same, whether it's a plant-based product or whether it's an animal-based product. So just by looking at the ingredient list yourself, unless the manufacturer has specified that it is plant-based glycerin, it wouldn't necessarily be obvious. So that one's quite interesting. So I mean, if somebody said it's a vegan product and glycerin is listed as an ingredient, then one could extrapolate that it was the vegan glycerin. Water. I mean, shellac is an interesting one. I mean, there are. I think I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think there is shellac that is manufactured from the not from the animals itself, but from the products that the animals secrete. So it would be a vegetarian and acceptable to vegetarians. And I think there is also a shellac that is made from actually the crushed insect, so obviously that wouldn't be vegetarian either. So I guess there's some key words. I mean, there's oleic acid. That is one that you often see in ingredients in skincare products, and again, that's an animal fat.
So oleic acid.
There's nothing in the name that tells you that, of course. So you kind of, if you either you trust your brand, or you find a brand that's accredited, or you have to go through the ingredients and remind yourself of what they all are. Lanolin, you see that a lot as well. I mean, there's quite a list when you look into it of different animal-based products, and a lot of them come from animals themselves, so animal fats. And collagen, like you were saying, Imogen, that's a really interesting one, and that can come from pork or beef or fish as well.
Wow. Okay, we've got quite a few ingredient type questions from people watching. So we're going to jump into those and then we'll kind of go back to the rest of our questions afterwards. But Chantal's saying, how can you tell if the ingredients derived from coconut are vegan? Often coconuts are picked by monkeys, but these coconuts are still somehow considered vegan. Interesting.
Wow.
I mean, how do you either of you have coconuts? Imogen, you don't have coconut in your products, maybe?
I use coconut oil.
Oh, do you?
I do, in my bath melts. I've got the coconut oil.
Okay.
So back, I won't keep going on about my amazing supplier, but I do. You'll all want their number. But no, I just keep looking at their data sheets, and they really do tell a story of where it comes from. So I know from in my opinion and in my experience, that's kind of what I look at. But as a consumer, I guess the only way to really find out would be to grill the brand who made it, who will subsequently grill their supplier.
Yeah. Okay, so ask questions and be inquisitive, I guess, is the way.
It's really important to do that on a human level as well, because I'm really interested in kind of fair trade and ethical ingredients as well. And each ingredient comes from a farm and a grower who will employ people to plant and pick and process the food. And I'm also very interested to know, that those people are paid well or looked after well, and it can be really joyous to find an ingredient that has got a really great story behind it. For example, the shea butter that we use in our bums comes from a women's cooperative in Ghana, and it's really wonderful when you find a product like that and you think, great, I'm going to hang on to that one, and likewise with the coconuts that are picked by not animals. Yes.
This is a really interesting one for me because it kind of crosses over maybe the organic as well as the vegan kind of story. So are ingredients that have pesticides or been grown using pesticides considered vegan? Imogen, what's your take on that?
They could be, because it's one of those things where that's organic. So organic ingredients have been grown without pesticides, GMO, non-GMO. So again, an organic product could not be vegan as well. So I guess it's important to just separate those terms and then find out the information based on each one of the definitions.
Yeah, I guess it's maybe I always say it's important to maybe determine your own ethos when it comes to your beauty regime. If you want, say in this example, you're like, okay, well, I want it to be organic because of the pesticide angle, but I also want it to be vegan so that, there's no other animal derivatives in the product. And then there you'd be looking for an organic and a vegan formulation. But then other people might just be like, well, I want it to be all natural ingredients, and as long as it's vegan rather than certified organic, I'm kind of happy. So I think it's about making that checklist for yourself and then using that as the basis for your kind of shopping decisions is how I would approach it. But maybe do you guys have any other takes on that? Would you agree that that's how we should approach it, Marian?
Yeah, I mean, we have different priorities at different stages of our lives, don't we? And they might be kind of economic priorities, or family priorities, or just to do with our own interests as they change and are highlighted. So, I mean, you can't be perfect in every way, can you? I mean, there's often a compromise that is necessary to make. I mean, it's wonderful to find products that are perfect and wonderful, and it's great, and when they are great for your skin as well, then that's where you get
you've hit the jackpot.
really committed customers, and a really wonderful brand. So just keep looking and keep asking questions, and ask yourself what's important, what are the most important things to you. Yeah.
Another question we've got: what are your favourite vegan waxes? Do either of you use waxes in your products, or?
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I was thinking that you meant finished products rather than. Well, I really like Candelilla wax because it's really hard. It's actually quite a bit harder than beeswax, so it gives a really firm consistency to the product, but it melts quite quickly when you kind of take a bit of product out of the pot, and it's a bushy plant, so it feels like a very sustainable product. Yeah, so that's probably my favourite one. Yeah.
And then I think this is another one for you, Marian, because I know obviously your balms are vegan, and it's quite difficult to find vegan balms because most of them use honey or beeswax. So what are the best alternatives to ingredients such as beeswax or honey in a product? And that's from Emma. So maybe talk to us a little bit about your balm, because it's such a nice consistency as well, which is difficult, as you say, when you don't have the stiffness. So yeah, talk to us.
I mean, I know what you mean. Beeswax is a really lovely consistency, and it has a very kind of smooth and soft consistency, and it is quite hard to find that exactly. So you have to play, and so you get the real hardness from the Candelilla wax, but I combine it with shea butter, which is very rich and soft. Oops, I've lost. My screen has changed, but
we can
fine,
still
I can still
hear
see
you.
Yeah, okay, good. So it's about, and then obviously then you add the oils as well. So I use a mixture of infused oils, so that might be something like a marshmallow root or something like that, or it might be a straight plant oil, like a rosehip oil or something like that. And you just play, and that's the really fun bit about making skincare products. And you can do that yourself in your own kitchen. You don't have to buy my balms. You can experiment and find a consistency that works for you. But I like a balm that is hard, but that goes to oil very quickly.
Yeah.
So you take a little scoop out, and then you can use it in lots of different ways immediately without it kind of pulling at your skin. And I find that some balms can be a little bit too firm, so you put them on your skin and it feels like it's pulling your skin around a little bit. You become a little bit more sensitive to that as you get older, or something that you can work into your hands and spread, so that it has quite a long spread. So, for example, I have a muscle balm that is really lovely for post workouts, but you want to be able to get a little bit of that and work it across a limb without too much bother. What else can I tell you? Yeah.
That's perfect.
And the beauty, I mean, the beauty of the balms, I think, and it crosses a lot of the things that we're all interested in, and I'm really interested in plastic-free packaging as well, and having products that are multi-purpose, so you can use them for lots of different things. So, and I think balms are really fantastic for this. So you can use a balm as a cleanser, you could use it as a treatment mask. You can use it like an oil and just leave it on your skin, or you could use it as a little kind of topical aid if you've got a dry or sore or itchy, spotted skin. And they're hugely versatile, and I think they're great fun.
Yeah, and we were talking about this last week in the certified organic chat, where balm is often a really great first purchase when you're just switching to an organic or a natural beauty regime. And a balm is certainly something I still have in my kind of regime, and your Radiance balm in particular, I take that and only that on holiday, because as you said, it does everything. It cleanses, it moisturises, it's good for sunburn, got a few rosy cheeks after today. So yeah, it's really
put it on your eyelids for a bit of sheen.
Yeah,
dry elbows. You can use it in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
And then another question, I think we'll go to Imogen on this one, because we've talked at length about this before, and it's certainly something quite interesting. I know a few of the brands that we have either got vegan founders and they've got vegan products in their range, or they are vegan and they still use beeswax and honey. I think this is one that's really kind of interesting ingredient to talk about. Chantal saying she struggles with honey. It's such a good ingredient, such a nice ingredient. I use it to make homemade masks all the time, but haven't touched it in about 6 years, and I missed the effects. I mean, I think some vegans choose not to use honey and beeswax, but some of your products do have honey in, but I think it's the way that you source it that you feel comfortable that it's considerate and sustainable. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I do. So I've got honey in my face mask and my balm, and I've got beeswax in my balm, and it really was something that I had to take into a lot of consideration when I made it, because I felt a little bit funny about it as well, until I met my supplier, who is a UK-based supplier, who's also been labelled one of the most ethical suppliers in the UK, because of the way that they treat their bees. So they're really big on having respect for the bees. They're not kept in captivity, they're given access to, they're given their freedom to the fields. In fact, they really help the ecosystem. The farmers really enjoy having those hives in their fields, because it increases their crop yield. So for me, that was a massive factor in the decision to put it in there, because I do get it. It's still an animal derived product, and I think a lot of the honey, in fact, I was reading about it today, there's such a huge spectrum of different honeys and different beekeepers and different types of honey, and whether it's pasteurized or not, or they chuck away a load of the byproducts, for example the wax, or they keep their bees in captivity. There's such a huge spectrum. So, if that is something that you're kind of torn between and you're missing it, that might be something that you consider, is actually looking into the person who's making it and the type of honey it is and the way that they act, and taking that into consideration.
Great. I think, I in a past life worked with that, where you get your honey from, and they actually help people have hives on their rooftops in London, and it is a very considerate way of harvesting the honey, that not kind of taking too much, which I think is one of the big ethical questions around beeswax. And again, going back to deciding on your kind of criteria, I do know some of our customers who are vegan who still shop beeswax, but some who completely avoid it. So I think it's probably down to personal preference on that one.
It really is. It's about setting your boundaries, like you said before, for all of these things, whether it's vegan or whether you want organic or whether you just want natural. It's about setting your own boundaries and about what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think something as well that's been coming up, I've seen it a lot recently, we were talking about this before we went live, because I see tons and tons of brands that kind of approached to work with us, and I've been seeing a lot lately, on Instagram or when they approach me, they're like, we're vegan founded, and almost as if that makes their products more, higher quality, or slightly better than if someone has vegan products but isn't a vegan founder. I mean, it's really interesting way to market yourselves as a business. I mean, are either of you vegan, even though you make vegan products? What do you kind of think about that topic, Marian? Are you vegan yourself? And
not 100% of the time. No, I'm not. I aspire to be, and sometimes I am for great periods of time, and other times I'm not. I'm also, a mother to a family of teenagers, and have limited time, and different busy life and different things going on. So it's not always easy to live the life that you would like yourself to live. So, but I don't think it's my business to scold anyone for choices that they make, and I wouldn't really appreciate if someone did that to me either. I mean, I think that we're doing our best to make choices on a daily basis that meet our beliefs and our views and the things that are important to us, and as much as possible I try and do that well, but I fail all the time, and
we're all human.
so I think so, and I think it's really I think there's lots of conflicting things going on at the moment, and I think it's great that people feel that they can set up brands and businesses that feel very congruent to their beliefs or their decisions. So I really applaud people who are so committed and so sure of their own beliefs that they want to create brands and products in that way, and fantastic. But yeah, it doesn't have to be competitive, but equally on the other side of that, I think because there's such a growth in the interest in veganism and plant-based products, and I think that there is also a kind of people jumping on the bandwagon of that and trying to create products that are of interest to a growing number of people, and I think it's rather disappointing if those people are doing that cynically, because there's an opportunity and that they don't have the belief. So I think that we need to, those things need to be important to us, whether we need to be, without any failures or any lapses. I mean, I wouldn't want to judge anyone, on that basis.
We're in a safe space here. Imogen, how about you? What's your take on that?
So similar to you, I'm not vegan. I used to have a vegan diet. I was vegan for about 4 years, having before that been a full-on meat eater and cheese addict. So I suddenly went cold turkey on all of it. And yeah, I think after a couple of years, and also, Marian, similar to you, your surroundings as well, you know, really not dictate, but they have an influence on the way that things that you eat, and it can be quite difficult to not eat vegan in certain places, especially back then, because this is a few years ago. And now it's much easier to be vegan than it was even a couple of years ago in terms of restaurants, or, you know, the kind of food that's available, all of the alternatives. But as you say, I think that it's important not to imagine everyone as perfect, or that they should be perfect, because humans aren't perfect. So I don't think it should be a point where you judge a brand because their founder's not, you know, 100% vegan. We're all human. So as long as we're all kind of making a difference in our own way, you know, not eating cheese that's, you know, not ethically sourced every single day, you know, and not eating a pile of meat every day. You know, if you're making a difference, you've cut down, or you've decided to just cut meat, then I think, you know, it's still admirable. You know, you're still helping the planet, and you're still obviously helping the animals as well. So
yeah, small steps. I think it was really interesting what you were saying, Marian, about people maybe jumping on the bandwagon and, you know, using this, I don't want to call it a trend, but it, you know, it's come to the fore over the last few years, certainly. I think there's also something interesting to look for is maybe bigger companies that have multiple brands, some of which may be vegan, some of which may not be, and also I think from the cruelty-free aspect to also check what countries those brands operate in as well, because that doesn't also always guarantee that it's cruelty-free. So I think I would add that to, as we were saying earlier, looking at the ingredients and looking for the certification and asking the brands questions, but I'd say always go another level higher and check also, you know, are they independent? Are they owned by another kind of conglomerate? I've been doing quite a bit of reading on that at the minute. It's a very interesting topic.
It is, and there's a real argument to be had in that as well, isn't there? I mean, with the Vegan Society, they register products, not brands. So they register some of my products, but I am not a vegan brand. I'm not. Well, I am a vegan brand, but I'm not. My brand isn't registered with the Vegan Society. It's these specific products. So you could be selling vegan products as well as meat products or something like that, and be with you know under the same brand, and that wouldn't be an issue necessarily. But something like the Leaping Bunny accreditation, my understanding is that all the parent companies, the brand is registered by Leaping Bunny. So I am also registered with the Leaping Bunny. So but that applies to all the products that I sell. And if I was to be taken over, or if I was to take over another company, then all of those products would have to be cruelty-free as well.
Yeah.
So different accrediting bodies have different rules about that. And it's a really interesting argument, if you don't mind me just kind of going on a little bit. I mean, I'm a huge fan of pupper teas, for example, and supplements, and they were recently bought out by a very large global food conglomerate, and there was some argument about whether they should have done that, and there was that feeling of kind of selling out and etc. I agreed with them to a point. If you really want to change the world, then you need to go big. And they felt very confident that they were going to have a positive influencing force within that larger company. They were going to have a much bigger reach, and they were going to be able to sell and influence more people. And it'd be very easy to take an opposite opinion to that. But it's an interesting argument, and it's not necessarily as simple as as simple as it looks on first look. But it's the wonderful thing about choosing brands like mine and Imogen's is that we haven't got any secret board members that have got other interests in other organisations. What you see is what you get.
Yes.
And it's all very transparent. And very easy to read. So.
Yeah, and I think that's one of my reasons for listing and working with independent brands. One, I think it's great for our industry, but it also means that we have a much closer working relationship. It's much more collaborative, and if there's something that someone asks me, we just jump straight to you and ask you, and we get the answer very quickly. So it is very transparent in that respect. So I think we maybe talk now about switching to a vegan regime, and there are some more questions coming through, so we'll jump to those just before we finish as well. But what's your advice for if you want to approach switching to a vegan beauty regime, Imogen?
So I think something that's really important is to not just throw out all of the products that you've already got if they're not vegan. That's also not great. Either use them, or donate them, because it's also not very ethical to just chuck stuff away. So that's important. But then following on from that, reading labels, and off the back of that, not just to buy like a load of products. I know it's so tempting when you're starting a new regime and a new lifestyle to just go crazy and just buy like a million different products because they're vegan. So but I think it's good to kind of do it little by little. Secondly, back to, I think I mentioned it before, is the labeling. So really to just be sure that you're not reading a label that says it's vegan when it's not, and also for you, because if you find out that it's not vegan, then it's a bit upsetting. So just to make sure that you're taking care of what's in there, and again looking for the certifications if you want absolute clarity, like yours, Marian, to know that it's definitely been rigorously tested to be vegan. Did you want to know what more about products, or
we'll go to that in a minute, but just Marian, did you have any other tips that you would add if you were switching?
I think when you're making a transition or making a big change in your life, it's really important to remember what you're moving towards rather than what you're letting go of or what you're denying yourself. So rather than thinking of all the things that you've got to give up, think about all the things that you're going to embrace. And I think that really helps with any transition. So think about all the wonderful nutrients and vitamins and essential fatty acids you're going to be able to treat your body or your skin to in these lovely new vegan and plant-based products. And there are heaps and heaps of resources out there. And that can be a little bit overwhelming to someone who's completely new to a completely different way of cooking or a completely different way of thinking about skincare. But Beauty Not Cruelty is a really fantastic website and is really good for people who are maybe new to veganism, and it's got lots of tips and articles, and it's got a directory as well. So, and I don't think their directory is just for Vegan Society registered products. I think it's more wide than that, although you could go to the Vegan Society and look through their trademark directory as well. And there's Vegan Babe Life on Instagram. I don't know if you follow her at all, but she's got a really great and so it's about kind of finding a few people that talk about vegan lifestyle in a way that feels appropriate to you, and filtering out everyone else and just having a read and trying some simple things rather than making it too complicated and too difficult.
Yeah, small steps, I think. And I mean, if we can just say, this is a bit of a plug, but we obviously have at Blomma Beauty the Try Before You Buy scheme. So you can get little testers of products if you want to try them before you kind of commit. So like Imogen was saying, it's not throwing it all in the bin and then replacing it with loads of stuff, because as we all know, everyone's skin is different, and you need to know what's going to be right for you and your skin, and that it's in line with that kind of tick list that you've made for yourself based on what you've decided to go forward with. So use that as a free resource, as kind of no obligation, and it will hopefully help to navigate that journey with you. And we're always open to lots of questions. So last question from me, and then we'll go back to some more of the viewers' questions. But let's just hear more about your range. So, Imogen, of the products that are vegan, maybe talk us through like a couple of the best sellers, or maybe your favourites, so people can learn a little bit more about that. Oh, you've muted yourself again.
And again. There you go. I was going to talk to you about two products, one of which is and also I wanted to talk to you about these today because it was very hot today and it's summer now, so I chose these two for that reason as well. So my facial oil, Bumi facial oil, here it is, hello. It's made with pomegranate, hemp, rosehip, wheat germ, evening primrose and vitamin E. And it's an oil which is vegan. It's also made with 99% certified organic ingredients and obviously 100% natural. And it's made with really small molecules, basically, which means it can really penetrate and nourish the deeper layers of skin, which is fantastic in the summer months when you don't really want to go too heavy. And sweat more. That's nice. And the other one was our body butter. So that's a really simple formulation. It's just avocado, hemp, shea butter, and vitamin E. And again, packed with those lovely vegan vitamins and minerals that soften your skin and really soothe it. Again, great for the summer when your legs and your feet are finally making an appearance. And again, that one's 99% organic ingredients and vegan.
Amazing. Yeah, that one melts into the skin very, very nicely. It leaves you very silky. And Marian, do you want to highlight a couple of yours? We talked about the Muscle Balm. My favourite's the Radiance. But
yes, I've already managed to slip in.
Yeah, no.
Products.
Stealth.
So one of my favourites at the moment is Breathe Balm, and that's got some lovely kind of eucalyptus and mentholy, rosemary, camphor smell. So it's really invigorating. So it's quite a wintry balm, but it's also there because coughs and colds and whatnot, and has some really great decongestant properties. But it's also quite zingy, so I put it on my feet. It's but I get dry skin in the summer, and so it really kind of zaps that, and it's actually putting balm and aromatherapy products onto your feet is a really wonderful way to absorb the oils. So I would definitely experiment with putting balms into your feet.
I like that.
And then the opposite of that is the sleep balm, and we've had some lovely feedback on the sleep balm, and that kind of has a kind of more soporific and more gentle calming effect. So you could use it in the day as a kind of anti-stress relaxing kind of massage it into your temples, or you could use it as part of your bedtime routine and just kind of rub it into your chest or your upper back, or again your feet, and that's one of our sellers at the moment.
I do that with a pucker sleepy tea. I put it on my chest and I have a sleepy tea. So that's my little ritual. It's my rock and roll lifestyle. We'll just go to another couple of questions. So we talked about maybe the alternatives for beeswax, but Emma's also asking maybe, is there an alternative to honey? And Chantal and Emma have been having this lovely conversation between the two of them about maybe sweet almond oil for some of those benefits of honey, but maybe not the kind of antibacterial side of things. What would you suggest as an alternative to honey from that side? Maybe Imogen, do you have an ingredient that you would suggest?
So there's so many amazing properties about honey, and I guess you would try and put them together. So, and hemp seed oil is very antibacterial, as are things like, in fact, we wouldn't use in a standalone ingredient, I think it would probably be a mixture to get you everything that honey gets.
Yeah.
Gives you, sorry. Again, so hemp, rosehip is also very antibacterial. I guess it really depends where you want to use it. So maybe pop us the question and we'll be able to give you a better recommendation on that one.
Okay. And Marian, do you have any additional ingredients?
In terms of the cleaning properties, I think castor oil is very lovely, and that's in our cleanser because it kind of draws out the impurities of the skin. So that would be very lovely. Jojoba oil has got some properties that I think would be, that you would want to put in the mix as well, and it's a really powerful anti-inflammatory. I need to rack my brain a little bit more with the antibacterial. But I like your suggestions there, Imogen. I mean, tea tree essential oil is a real obvious essential oil that has fantastic antibacterial properties. But there are others as well. And if they wanted me to get back with a better thought out answer, I'd be very happy to do that.
We can maybe put it in the comments some more example ingredients for the guys there. And then, what are the rules on calling a product vegan? We kind of talked about this earlier, and that it's quite a grey area, I suppose. For example, I know L'Oreal called non-vegan products vegan. What are the rules if you're not certified vegan? Are there any?
I don't believe there are. I don't think it's as controlled as it is with the word organic. So if you're not registered as an organic, if it's not registered as an organic product, you can't say that it is an organic product. You can only say that it's made with organic ingredients, and that is very tightly controlled, but it's not the same with vegan. I mean, if you're claiming a product is vegan and it's not, then that is a trading standards issue, and that you could make a complaint along those lines. But people, I mean, there's a lot. People say that their products are vegan, or they're vegan friendly, or you've just put a letter B on their product. So there are lots of different ways of describing. People use plant-based a lot as a term to describe a vegan product, but I think there's not too much control around there. So you have to be a little bit careful, and like Imogen said, perhaps look a little bit more closely at the list of ingredients, just to be sure.
Do your homework, and then also ask, someone maybe impartial, or use like a trusted source, so that they all have done those checks for you beforehand. And then there's a couple of people asking about the production process of vegan skincare. I guess maybe how easy is it to formulate vegan products versus non-vegan products? Maybe the question is, maybe we can have a bit more detail, but you make it look easy, that's for sure. We've got such lovely products, both of you. But and I guess maybe if you both make by hand yourselves, then you've got full control of that whole process. But maybe if someone's looking at a slightly bigger company that maybe uses like a contract manufacturer, it's probably maybe still made by hand, but by potentially lots of different people, or a facility that's making different products for different people. If you had to start, you were working 24 hours a day because you couldn't keep up with the demand of the products, and you had to look at a production facility, what sort of things would you be looking for to make sure that they were going to manufacture your products in line with your vegan standards? Is maybe a good way of looking at it. Imogen, what do you think?
So I think, and Marian, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but vegan products are not supposed to be made on the same surface as non-vegan products. Is that true? Is it
one of the declarations? There are two declarations that you have to sign. every year for the Vegan Society, and one is that none of your ingredients are made from animal products or their derivatives or are tested on animals, and the other one is that you manage cross-contamination very carefully so that there is no possibility that the process of manufacturing is contaminated with products that aren't vegan. So that would be really important, that you would want to find out about that. But that is a really interesting question, and one that I've thought about a lot. How big do I want to be? Because I think actually a lot of the attraction of my products and my brand is the fact that it is quite small, and that they are made by hand by me, or by people who I am keeping a close eye on, and I think that's very much part of the story of the brand and what makes it special. So I wouldn't necessarily look to grow so big that I handed it over to something else, because actually it's not all that easy to make vegan products, although I said it was. You have to be really careful with things about the temperatures. So different oils and waxes and butters respond to different temperatures.
Yes.
And it's really important to get that process correct. And if you're making creams, you're making an emulsification, and you're bringing oil-based ingredients together with water-based ingredients, and that's quite tricky, actually. So, and I like to make sure that the temperature is 85 degrees when I do something else, or 55 degrees when I add another ingredient, or I don't add the whatever it is until it's cooled down to 30 degrees, and I feel very sure that I'm doing that correctly. But if you were to hand it over to somebody else, I suppose you would just need to check practices were as exacting as you were yourself.
Yeah.
That's really made me laugh, because because if I ever ask, and those who are watching this who know me very well, I get a lot of requests to help with my products, but they don't often get approved because because it's it's difficult. I know with some of my products there's quite a few different stages and at different temperatures that you have to have just one product, and it's a time, temperature, the T's. It's important to know. So I think for myself at the moment, I was thinking about this the other day, because I was thinking the same as you. How big do I want to be? And I was thinking, God, could I ever actually hand that over to anyone? Definitely in terms of using machines to make the products, to manufacture them. That's a big no for me. It's always going to be people or me making them.
Yeah, I know how exacting you are. I mean, not that I've helped you make the products, but I had to do some labelling in the shop at Christmas, and I definitely didn't do it in line with Imogen's standards.
You did, you agree? They're going soon, Karen, so don't worry.
So, okay, thank goodness. And last question, which is kind of related, is do you work out of your home or a studio? Marian, where do you make your products?
I have a workshop, so I have a room, quite a large room that has what could be described as a kitchen area along one side of it, and then a storage area on the other, and a packing side on the other. So I have a dedicated space, which is fantastic. I started off at home in the kitchen, and that was okay to start off with, but you have to kind of wipe everything down, get everyone out.
Yeah.
And no one's allowed in until you finish, and that's okay if you're just making 20 pots of cream. But if you're, doing something more than that, it's really important to have a dedicated space that you can keep clean.
Yeah. And Imogen, how about you? I think you just moved your space a while ago, no?
No. I'm thinking about it. It's one of the things I'm thinking about doing, because as you just said, Marian, being at home comes with its difficulties. So yeah, getting people out of the kitchen, getting the space to actually keep the stuff as well. I've got 2 chillers in my living room where I am now, where I keep the products, because especially in summer, it's essential that you're keeping them in that right temperature, ideally between 12 and 18. But so I found it, I've got quite a lot of space here, like as townhouses in London go. So I'm quite lucky, but yeah, it is hard being at home. And again, you know, cleaning, you're constantly, because the area has to be sanitized, everything has to be sanitized, and it has to be, you know, ship shape so that you can be worthy of actually making these products for people, because otherwise it's just not fair.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely something I think I'll be looking into, renting at first a kitchen for when I do my production days.
Very nice.
In the first instance,
I think we've got plans to maybe do, when we're back and out in the open, we can meet up again and to do some behind the scenes in the workshops and the apothecaries and how people make it, because I think that's something that people really want to hear more about from you guys as well. But I think we will leave it there for tonight, because it's been so interesting. Thank you both so much, and thanks everyone for watching. And
thank you.
if you want to sign up to, you're welcome. You want to sign up to next week's event, it's all about summer skincare. So we're prepping ourselves for summer, which is definitely here right now. Hopefully it will last till next week. And then also, if you want to learn more about Silvan Skincare or Bumi Naturals, I've put some links in the comments below. And of course, if you want to, you know, discover them on our website, or maybe sign up for the Try Before You Buy, or if you're a first-time customer for us, you can use the discount code LOVEBLOMMER and get 10% off your first order. So I hope to see you next week, and thanks so much for watching.